Welcome to Babogo training videos. This is the level 12 video for the even lessons, writing lessons, lessons 16 to 42.
Okay, in this video we're going to go over how to do the writing plan for lessons 16 to 42 in the even lessons of Babogo. So first what we're going to do is just a couple things to go over. Is like in this lesson the focus shifts from sentence level writing to developing story ideas and writing a basic story. So the first thing you want to do is read the introduction to the student. This information here will help a lot when developing the writing plan. So imagine that you went to the zoo with your friends. You brought some bananas and apples to feed the animals. When you got home, you noticed that a monkey from the zoo had followed you home. Why did the monkey follow you home? What happened? What did you do? How did you get the monkey to go back to the zoo? How does this make you feel? Create a writing plan for a story about this. So that's exactly what you need to do when reading it to the student. And then as you can see down here, we have the planning diagram to brainstorm ideas with the student, and we can refer back to it if necessary. So first what we're going to do is start with the book title. Have the student try to come up with a good book title. Don't spend too long on this though. If the student can't come up with a title straight away, then just tell them one or help them come up with one. So we could say like My Unexpected Guest, right? Because it's unexpected that the monkey will follow them home. And then we're going to move on to go over the setting, the characters, the problem, and the solution in the writing plan. So then we're going to do the setting next. Again, if the student forgot maybe when you were talking here, you can ask, okay, where was one of the settings? Good, the zoo. So one of our settings is the zoo. And there was two settings. Where did the monkey follow you? Again, we're trying to lead the student into telling us, not just giving them the answers. Good. Home, they followed you home. And then who were the other two characters in the story? Who are we writing about? We're writing about you. Good, but you wouldn't say you would say me. And who followed you home? Again, they might forget, but I think this one's pretty easy since the monkey's right. Good, the monkey. All right, so our characters are you and the monkey. And then proceed on to the problem. So what was the problem? Remember when we read our prompt? Again, you can go back. You can always refer to it if necessary. And you always can just give them a hint. Where did he follow you? Good. The monkey followed me home. Good, right? That was the problem. The monkey followed me home. And then the solution, there isn't exact right solution, but we want the student to come up with the solution. Now this is the hardest part, as it's not usually contained in the introduction, though there are prompt questions which help the students to develop ideas. So as you come up with ideas for each section, simply write them on the screen. The student does not need to write any of these down because we're just going to keep them on the screen. So this solution, who would you call to get the monkey? They could say maybe a zookeeper or the policeman. But in this case, we'll say zookeeper. So we're going to call the zookeeper to come get his monkey. And that's it, right? So it's very basic planning. You know, we have two settings in the story, two characters, one problem, and one solution. Okay, now we're going to move on to how to do the beginning, right? So the writing is divided into three parts. We have the beginning, the problem, and the solution. And in each part, we use the ideas from the plan to develop sentences with the student, and we discuss how to form the sentence. And you want to use as much interesting and descriptive vocabulary as possible. And then write out the sentence on the screen, leaving a few gaps for keywords. At first, you'll only leave a few gaps, but over time, the number of gaps will increase as the student gets better. The student should write the sentences down on some paper, including the keywords. After they've finished, you're then going to have them hold up the paper again briefly to show you. Again, this is not to check their accuracy. This is to just check if they're being lazy, not being lazy. After they've finished, we're going to fill the gaps in the sentence on the screen with the student's help. Then use this to check and, if necessary, correct their work. So after completing the sentence, then we're going to have the students read it back to us. So very similar to past writing activities. So in the beginning section, here we have the beginning section. We'll give an indication of when the story was happening, the character, and the setting. You can also add some extra detail. So you might get a sentence like, last week it was a lovely sunny day and my best friend Tom and I went to the zoo. As you can see, we've incorporated time, weather, character, and setting. So after discussing this content, now what you and the student might come up with will probably most likely be different. There's no set sentences. Again, we're trying to get the student to come up with as much of the content as possible. And after discussing the content and coming up with a good sentence, we're going to write it on the screen. But again, like I said before, we are going to leave blanks. So in this case, now here's our blank. So we'd say, last week it was again, we're going to leave some blanks for a lovely sunny day. And my again, best friend, we're going to leave a blank for that. And I went to the, again, we'll leave a blank for the setting. So again, for the start of the sentence, we use a blank. It could be last week. It could be last Monday. It was a lovely sunny day, right? And my best friend, Tom, right? So we're leaving the character, and I went to the zoo. Oops, silly teacher pain, need a full stop. And again, we're going to leave this up here. We're going to have the student attempt to write it down on a piece of paper, filling in these blanks, and then they should be telling you what to fill in the blank. So what do we fill in the blank? Good. Last, what was it? Last, what? Then week. Good. Last week. It was a, what was it? Was it night? No, it was a good, lovely, sunny day. And I probably should have left a little bit more room for this one, but that's fine. Just draw an arrow down here. And my best friend, who's your best friend? Good, Tom. And I went to the, where'd you go? Where was our setting? Zoo. Excellent. So again, after they've finished and you fill in the gaps in the sentence on the screen with the student's help, they should now use this to check their work and make any corrections that they made, any corrections they may have missed. After completing the sentence, again, we're just going to have the student read it one time. So ready, 1, 2, 3. Last week it was a lovely sunny day and my best friend Tom and I went to the zoo. Excellent. Again, so they're reading it, not you. And then you're just going to move on to the next section. So like the problem, right? So we're going to do exactly the same thing, but the middle section focuses on the problem in the story, the bad thing that happens, the thing that goes wrong, right? So it's the problem. It's good to include a feeling as well. So you might get a sentence like, we both had an amazing time at the zoo. However, when we got home, we realized that a monkey had followed us back. We felt so worried, right? So the middle part will be quite a bit longer in content than the beginning. And then after discussing the content, again with the student coming up with most of it, again we're just going to write it out on screen, just like we did up here. And again, after you wrote it out with the blanks, have the student help you fill in these blanks, and then have the student correct their work, and then again read the sentence. And then the final section in the solution focuses on the solution in the story, how the bad thing that goes wrong gets fixed. It is good to include a feeling as well as suitable. So you might get a sentence like, we looked online and found a phone number for the zoo. We called them and they sent someone to take the monkey back. We felt relieved that it was okay. So this is where you can incorporate, your character, call the zookeeper. And after discussing this content, again, write it out on the screen, leaving the blanks, then have the student help you fill it in, and then check their work. So again, after you've discussed it with the student, have them write it down, then you write it out with the blanks, and then you have the student help fill in the blanks, and then have them correct their work. And then again, like up here, they should read it out loud to you for the final part. And that is how to do the beginning, the problem, and the solution for Babo Go Even Lessons, Level 12, Lessons 16 to 42.
In summary, make sure the student is as involved as much as possible when you're planning the writing and developing ideas. And then when you're writing out your beginning, your problem, your solution, then give loads and loads of help, especially at first. As they get better at it, you can slowly, gradually take more and more help away, leave more and more gaps. But give them lots of help at the beginning, then slowly take it away.